Dreams do come true. So kids, what's your dream?
What more is new? So bright, colorful and new. Sometimes it feels hard, but you don't wanna give up.
Hello.
Hello. Hi.
You can see my dream?
Of course, because I too had a dream. Some days I dreamt of becoming a tennis player, and some days a cricketer. To make their dreams real tomorrow, you need financial planning today. Choose from a range of child plans from Aegis Federal Life Insurance and help your child dream big.
Hello and welcome to a very special episode of Backstage with Boria with Jeff Thomson, one of the greatest legends of our sport. Jeff, thank you very much for joining me. If you were to bowl to Virat Kohli today, if Jeff Thomson was asked to bowl to Virat Kohli today, you were the fastest bowler in the world at your time. How do you get a Virat Kohli out, who is batting outstandingly well, has come back into form? If you were to ask, say, a Mitchell Starc or a Kagiso Rabada, if you were coaching them today, what would be your advice? How to bowl to Virat Kohli?
Well, it's no different to anybody else. I mean, we're talking 2020 cricket, so it's very hard. You know, anything can happen. If you were bowling to Virat, it's the same as anybody else. You try to tie him down. You know, you try to make him uncomfortable. Don't let him get easy runs, which is very hard against a batsman that has all the shots. But at least you're making him take risks. Make him take more risks than he has to. So get him out of his comfort zone. Easier said than done. But good bowlers should be able to do that more than, you know, the mugs that run around. So you've got to hope you do that. You know, you tie him down, hope he tries to do something silly, and that's how you bowl to everybody. You know, Viv Richards, a Greg Chappell, the Sunil Gavaskar. Don't give them easy runs because then they just knock you around, get up the other end. They just keep picking away, and before you know it, they're 50, and then they're up and away.
So, Jeff, when you bowl to the greatest, say, for example, a Vivian Richards, it's also mental, right? I mean, it's also what Jeff Thomson is thinking. Is he aggressive? He might be bowling against the best batsman, but he's going to be aggressive. Believe the fact that you've got to get the batsman out. What would be your advice to fast bowlers? How do they deal with Virat? Is it also a mental battle or is it something else?
You can't back off, but you've got to use your head. You know, like it's your mentalness against his. You know, it's who breaks first that loses out. So as much as he's strong, you've got to be strong or stronger in the case. And like I said before, that's easier said than done. But the good players, batters or bowlers, they work that out. You know, they know what's going on and they go to plan B or plan C and see what happens. But I mean, some days it doesn't work. But as long as you know you've tried your best and didn't bowl a heap of garbage to him, you know, made it easy for him, that's all you can do. You know, good players on their day, on good wickets, you know, they're going to have fun. Like if I bowl on a good wicket for a bowler, he's going to have a bad time. If it's a batting pitch, he's going to generally have a good time. That's the way it works. But don't make it any easier for him is what I'm saying. You know, when you play international, it's who's the toughest. Got to be tough. You've got to want to be the best. You know, I had to turn up against Dennis Lillee and try to beat him, and I did. I had to turn up against Viv Richards. Everyone else in the world would have been shaken. But I wasn't scared of him. I was after him. Viv is a different kettle of fish because you know he's going to try and come at you. So that gives you more opportunities. Whereas some other batsmen, say like a Sunil Gavaskar, can come after you. But that makes my job a little harder because I've got to make him try and do something more. Whereas the guys that play shots, they might score off you. You know what a good shot is and you know what a lucky shot is. You know? But if you're playing against a tight batsman, where their stumps are and that, and don't give you much. Don't give you a lot of opportunity. Got to change your attack around a little bit.
Why are fast bowlers not doing the same kind of impact? Is it because of injuries?
Because there's so much cricket. I think, human nature, they say to themselves, I'm going to be playing, we've got this game next week, then we're going somewhere else, then we're going to India, then we're going to England. They play all year round. We didn't play all year round. We used to play a season, like summer season, and occasionally we would go to England for our winter, which was a long tour. It was 4.5 months. But generally, you just knew you had to play in the summer. So you would let go, gradually build up to Christmas, after Christmas, full on, because I knew I was going to get a rest at the end of March. I knew I'd go and play football. But now you can't do that anymore. You've got to sort of pace yourself, to be around, and that's why I have all these backup bowlers, and that's why they rest people, Whereas in our day, you didn't rest. If you had a rest, somebody else would take the spot. So it's a matter of having to rest these days because it's a 12-month of the year job.
Also injuries, Jeff. I mean, if I can ask you about, say a Jasprit Bumrah. I mean, he's one of our best, one of the best in the world, has a bit of an awkward action, has gotten injured again. What is Jeff Thomson's advice? How does a Jasprit Bumrah prolong his career? What does he need to do?
Well, he's got to work out what he wants to play. Does he want to play short version of the game or test matches or either or does he want to try and play both? Because if I was playing now, it'd be very hard to play test matches, especially when you get so much money for short version games that, that just makes your longevity better. Players these days, we didn't have to think about money in our days because there was no money, right? Now it's a business. So the only one that's going to look after that is yourself. So you've got to work out how long do I want to play for? How am I best going to manage that? Because nobody else is going to. You've got to say, hang on a minute, this is my job. I can't do all that. I'm going to do this, this, and this. So I think you have to be more cunning these days in the workload or what you're going to play and what you can't play. Because if you're good enough, they're going to pick you anyway. So you should be able to pull the strings.
So is that the only way then for a fast bowler? Because ultimately Test cricket is the pinnacle of the game. I mean, if you don't play Test cricket, then are you in that same league? So that's a question that was always be asked. Is Bumrah, suppose he says, I will play white ball and not Test cricket, is he the same player?
I think it's the crowd that judge it. The crowd will want to come and see him. They know what the guy can do. So if he doesn't play Test cricket, that's a bit of a blow. But if he's playing in white ball cricket and 2020, they'll turn up to watch him. You know what I mean? What I'm telling you is if a guy limited himself to that, he's going to be playing for longer. So instead of a short, flashy career playing everything and then breaking down and you won't see him again, they just throw you away and pick another one. I mean, that's the harshness of it.
Say for Jeff Thomson, I mean, it's an Ashes series and it's a white ball World Cup. Or maybe it's an India versus Pakistan white ball match and supposedly an India versus Pakistan Test series. Now, all of India would want a Jasprit Bumrah or all of Australia would want a Jeff Thomson to turn up and win that Test match or that Test series. Now, can a Jeff Thomson or a Jasprit Bumrah say, oh, you know what? For my own sake, I will play white ball cricket. Is that fair? Are you doing justice to your talent and to your country?
I think you're doing justice to yourself. So you got to work out what turns you on. You know what I mean? You got to say, is it this series that I want, or is it I want to look after myself and last more? So these are more questions that a modern day players got to ask, whereas we didn't ask. We just played, what was there, because we didn't play as much. So that's a difficult one for players these days. But I think that's going to become more and more. The more people get played, the more TV pays money, but wants more a TV program. The players suffer for that. You know what I mean? It'll be pretty hard. I mean, these guys go from country to country to play here, to play here. I reckon they must wake up some mornings and think, what are we playing today? Who are we playing? where am I? You look around the hotel and think, where am I? Yeah, I've often done that. Wake up and think, where am I? Because I do a lot of speaking. And then you go, oh, that's right, I'm somewhere else. And you think, when am I getting home? So, I mean, these are the things that happen. We're sportsmen, we're human beings. We're not bloody Superman. You're not made of kryptonite or whatever it is. You're not bulletproof. So, so you've got to, that's why you notice all of a sudden you're saying Bumrah, he's breaking down and all this, or maybe he isn't, maybe he wants a rest, but that's his way of doing it, I don't know, but it wouldn't surprise me. It wouldn't surprise me with blokes that play for Australia. We're a little bit luckier with pace bowlers because we've got Cummins and the other guy, I can't even think of their names now, but we've got probably 4 fast bowlers. So that makes it a little easier for our guys, for a starter. Whereas Bumrah himself, and I just can't think of the other guy, the other end, who's pretty handy. But it's pretty hard work playing in India. If they play half their games in India, that's even harder. You know what I mean? You've got to try harder. The wickets are less responsive, all that sort of stuff. So again, you work harder. So I don't know what the answer is. The answer is you really need to play less for the players. And you know what that would do? That'd make the fans even more wanting to see the team, because instead of being rammed down their throat every day, you have to wait to see these games. I don't know about you, but I find cricket and every other sport is on TV so much that it's a TV program. You turn it on and you go, oh, what's this game? I wonder who's doing this,
I mean, at times 2020 cricket is a bit of a blur. You don't remember anything. It's day in, day out highlights packages going on.
It's same all the time. It just depends who's in form in that period of that competition, who goes well. You can't keep doing it all the time. You've got to have a rest. And, you come in and out of luck. It's a bit like golfers. You don't see too many golfers winning every tournament. You just can't do that. You biorhythms, you go well for a few weeks and then you struggle to play well. It's the same with cricket, same with any sport.
Just a little bit different. I mean, what's your take on David Warner's leadership ban? Should Australia revoke that leadership ban? Was that harsh to start with? Should David Warner be made captain?
I don't think he's a captain. Just let him bat. Just leave him alone to worry about what he has to do.
Let's get you to talk a little bit about your contribution to some of India's bowlers, Jeff. You've worked with Shardul Thakur. Shardul still fondly remembers the advice you've given him. You identified Prasidh Krishna as part of a camp. Prasidh Krishna, Shardul Thakur. Can you talk to me about that?
I just gave him confidence in himself. They could see they were doing a few things wrong, but Shardul, for instance, I think was a bit timid with himself, a bit introvert. He needed to come out of his shell and believe he could bowl to anybody and be confident. That's what I was trying to teach him. I said, just, you make sure you can bowl what you can bowl, where you want to, and then be aggressive. Don't hang back, be aggressive. I said, you'll be surprised what aggressiveness does for you. And then Prasidh, I can't think of his last name now, good young bloke.
Krishna.
He always wanted questions, and I always said, look, you're doing this wrong. He had a thing with his leg, and now he bowls in the 140s. I've seen him bowl 140 odd Ks. Yeah. He's got more pace, he clears the ball well. He's a smart guy, so he knows how to adjust, and that's what I told him. You've got to practice hard, you've got to be able to bowl where you want to, but the biggest thing you've got to do is work out what the batsman likes and give him what he don't like. You've got to quickly analyse a batsman and be able to give him the reverse of what he likes.
And how does one do that? I mean, how does a youngster, say, suppose a Prasidh Krishna bowling to a Virat Kohli? A master, he's at the top of his game. Prasidh is a youngster. How does a youngster do that?
Well, you just got to do it. Like I said before, you got to try and tie him down and make him come to you. You can't just bowl. You can't just run in and bowl. You got to have a plan to it. You got to say to yourself, okay, I'm not going to give him anything here, and I'll put my field that side. If he whacks me where they aren't across the line, well, I can't do much about that. That's just good batting. But you've got to reward yourself. You can't bowl rubbish and think you're going to be happy with that. So you've got to bowl what you want, and if the batsman's better than that, you can't do much about that. But generally, if you stick to the plan and see what they don't like, you'll do pretty well. I mean, that's
Okay.
what Bumrah comes in, he bowls. I mean, he could hit a handkerchief, I'm sure, a little one, you know. That's the way he bowls, and he mixes it up. He bowls a very good bouncer. He's strong. He can bowl all day, and that's what you've got to be able to do. You know, top-class cricket is hard.
Is Bumrah the best bowler in the world, according to you, if he's fit at the moment?
Oh, he's pretty good because he can bowl, you know, if he can bowl pretty good in India, he can bowl pretty well anywhere. Rabada, I don't mind Rabada. Rabada's another guy that's pretty smart. When he bowls, he's pretty sharp, you know. And he's smart. He's quick to work out what the batsman is trying to do.
Tell me your story with Sir Donald Bradman in Adelaide. I've listened to that story, but to be, you know, just a personal anecdote. I mean, your story with Sir Donald Bradman.
Oh, well, you know, these guys that play out of your era. In other words, you never seen them play. They finished where you were growing up. You never saw them anyway. You only saw some poor highlights on TV. So you had no idea, except on his stats, that he was twice as good as everybody else, basically. And you think, how could you be twice as good as everybody else? Nobody playing any sport is twice as good as anybody else. So I got the opportunity to see how good he was, you know, just mucking around on a turf wicket, but in a friend of ours, Doc Beard, in Adelaide, you know. I thought, oh, well, I'll just bowl to him a couple of leg spinners because I thought, I can't bowl quick to this old guy. I'll kill him. This is how stupid you are. And he was probably 73, I reckon, at a guess at the time. He had a little old guy with glasses. So I bowled leg spinners to him, and he's just patting about. He never had anything. All he had was a bat, right? He's wearing a suit, so he took his coat off. That's all he took off. So he had leather dress shoes on, and basically a suit minus the coat. And these two young guys come in, they were 19 years old. They could bowl pretty sharp. You know, I'm talking probably 130 Ks or something like that, on a greenish backyard turf wicket. And Bradman's in there with a bat. He never took one backward step. He wasn't even worried. He didn't have gloves. He didn't have anything. Like I said, no protection, no pads, no nothing, just a bat. Well, he didn't miss a ball. He just, what you see in those highlights, is what he did at 73-year-old. I was amazed. It was unbelievable. It was the best, probably the best buzz of my life to see how good that guy actually must have been.
Unbelievable story. Unbelievable story, this one.
It was unbelievable that I had the chance to be there, you know, to do it and actually bowl to it.
How good was Vivian Richards? I mean, we compare Vivian Richards with Sachin, with Virat. How good was Vivian Richards? Because you bowled to him at the peak of his powers.
I mean, on his day, the great players are unstoppable, you know. I mean, they're just in the mode, like, you know, I'm having my day, nobody's going to do anything about that, you know, as a fast bowler. But as a batsman, man, he just backed himself, you know. He never wore a helmet. He never took a backward step. He always tried to be aggressive. Superb fielder. You wouldn't get a better fielder than Viv. And he could bowl a bit of off spin. I mean, how would he go in 2020 cricket? I think the officials would go broke paying for cricket balls they lost, especially if he was using the bats these guys use in the small grounds. Viv would be putting them in. They'd put the helmets on the crowd. It was just something different. You know, he was just Viv. He was aggressive. He was good at everything.
Do you think raw pace can still intimidate the best, or do you also need, swing? Because can raw pace, I mean, we've got Umran Malik, for example, from India, who bowls 150 clicks, but he's still gone for runs in recent times. Can raw pace do the job?
Well, it can. It depends on the pitch, and it depends when you bowl. Like if you're bowling in the night time, raw pace would be a little bit hard, especially here if it's a little bit humid, a little bit of dew around. But the white ball, you always find the white ball moves for a couple of overs. So you've got to try and move it then, at pace, but move it. And then you've got to settle into a different plan because, you know, the white ball doesn't last very long swinging.
Do you think the standard of pace bowling will decline in the near future because all these players play all these different formats and they will not be able to bowl a second spell or a third spell or a fourth spell like, say, somebody like a Jeff Thomson was able to do?
I think so, especially if you're only used to playing short version of the game. So if you're not used to bowling all day, and obviously all you do is bowl 4 overs in a 20-20 match or 10 overs in a 50-over match, your longevity, you know, as in stamina, it is going to drop off because you're not used to that. It's like having racehorses that run, short races or racehorses that run a couple of miles. They're either one or the other. They don't do both, you know.
And, you bowled with say, a Dennis Lilly, Curtly Ambrose and a Courtney Walsh, a Wasim Akram and a Waqar Younis, a Trent Bolt or a Tim Southee. Does hunting in packs help? Does the fact that on the other side you have a bowler who is as good or can help you or complement you, does that help?
Oh, yeah, of course it does. Because the guy can't get a single and get up the other end and know he's off pace, you know what I mean? Or the next bowler that comes on bowls a lot slower than you. So all they're going to do is sit on you and get runs on him. But if you're all the same, you know, you're pretty well the same at both ends. It's pretty much a nightmare for a batsman. And then you come to the West Indies in our time. They had 4 fast bowlers that are all quick. And then they had another 4 on the bench that weren't even getting a game. So, and when you went out to bat, you'd never get to bat against a spinner ever. It was always pace bowling. So good luck, you know, to the whole lineup. You're not going to get an easy little, you know, spinner bowler, dude.
What are the ingredients? Tell me the 4 or 5 things, according to you, recipe of becoming a very good fast bowler. Final question.
Well, you've got to have an action that's going to last for a start. So, you know, otherwise you're going to break down. You've got to have determination. You've got to hate batsmen. I don't mean hate them, but you know what I mean? You've got to hate letting them stay in. You've got to want to get them out quickly. Stamina. Good team man. You know, you've got to be able to relax in between overs and all that. But most of all, you need a good, stable action, good, strong body, be athletic, and determination is the biggest thing. You've got to want to be out there. If you don't back yourself, you know, you've got to back yourself. If you doubt yourself, well, then you ain't going to do any good. Straight away, the other opposition has got the wood on it. So you have just got to be, what did I say before? Like, look like you're a lair, look like you're cocky. But you're not being cocky, you're just determined. You're not worried about being out there. This is your pitch. This is your ground. These other guys are imposters. They're trespassing on your area.
Fascinating talking to you, Jeff Thomson. Now, based on what you just said, I can understand why you were so good. Obviously, you had the pace, Yorkers at 110 miles an hour. But with this mentality, I can understand why you were so good. Pleasure. Absolute pleasure speaking to you. Hopefully you stay well. We will be able to do it physically at some point in time. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. Good luck.
Thank you. Now you can watch all our content on the Rev Sports app. Please download the app. All the instructions are given, and consume all sports, multi-sports content on the Rev Sports app. Also, you can download and use our other platforms. You can subscribe to YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and of course Twitter for the best of sports coverage from all over the world. So the app or all of the other social media platforms for consumption of Rev Sports sports coverage. Keep watching.